Hello, so now we'll speak about, of course, DNS. DNS is one of the most important services that you have. So without DNS, of course, you cannot access your server. You cannot take a workstation and put it in a domain. You cannot, for example, install Exchange, nothing. So DNS is the name resolution solution in Windows 2019, 2016, 2012 R2. So DNS is very important. So when you install your first DC, it's installed by default, okay? And it's used for name resolution. So the first goal of DNS is to link to a computer name, an IP address. But you can also do a reverse. What is a reverse zone? Is the pointer, meaning that from an IP you can find the computer name. And we talk about PTR. Okay, so PTR is a way that you can have this reverse zone here. What are the components? Okay, so first you have the domain name. Okay, it can be private or public. For example, fluctuationit.lab is one of my private domain here. The DNS server, okay, resolve the name, and if he cannot do it, he will forward it to another DNS server. And in the DNS zone, you will have to manage records. Some records are automatically created, okay? So you can have ACE, SLV, text, MX, and with a time to link setting, of course. And a zone can be primary or secondary, or it can be integrated in the AD store. And what is very nice is that if you integrate your DNS in the AD, all the replication of the AD will contain the DNS record. So it's more accurate, more modern to integrate it in the AD than to do a primary and secondary. And after you have the DNS resolver, it's the client. And one of the tools we're very known is the NS lookup. NS lookup is very, very known, okay? So first of all, let's see what is the look of the DNS server, okay, and see how you see the name resolution, this reverse zone, and some information about my DNS. Okay, so let's jump here directly on our DC, and this is my DC. Okay, remember we use it in all the labs. So if I go here directly on my DC, and I just connect to my DC. Okay, let's connect to my DC. Okay, folks, and here you have your DHCP, remember, and we are interested about the DNS, okay, and here we can see that we have our DNS name, okay, fluctuationit.lab, and here inside it you have all the record, okay, so all this record has been created automatically, okay, by the DHCP. So when you have a new address given by the DHCP, it will do the record directly here. You don't have to do it, or you can do it. You can create your record. Okay, when you see static here, okay, static here, it's mean that all this record has been added manually. Okay, and this one has been added automatically by the DHCP. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. And here you have your normal, okay, zone. So for example, I can see I have all my server here, and I can, for example, ping this name, and he will resolve it with the IP address. Okay, so for example, if we do a ping poster2, okay, it's the name of my one of my workstation. So if I do ping poster2, okay, he will retrieve, okay, with the name here, and you see that it's exactly the IP address I have here. Okay, so when you, for example, take a computer and it's the first time you put it in a domain, he will create a computer account in Active Directory, and also he will retrieve an IP address on the DHCP server. You have it here, okay, and it's here. So that's the goal of the DNS, okay. And if you want to have a reverse loop zone, you see that I don't have any reverse loop zone here, so I must create one here, okay. So I can go here and do a new zone here, and when you do that, let's see something. Yeah, when you do that, you can go here, create a primary reverse zone, And when you do an IPv4 reverse zone, when you are here, you can type the ID of my network. So this is the ID. You can see it's starting by these 2 digits because I am in 24 bytes. Okay, so if I go here, I do next, 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 and finish, and now he has created this reverse zone. Okay, and what is happening is that after, for example, if I take this record here, you can see that I have my PTR. Okay, so I can do update the PTR, okay, manually, but after he will do it automatically. If I go back here and if I do a refresh, you will see that you have the PTR. Okay, so what is nice is that if, for example, I run NSLOOKUP, now I can have the 2 results. If I do that, I have the IP address, and he will retrieve me the name of the computer. And now if I type the name of the IP address, I will have the name of the computer. Here is it. Okay, and there is nothing with IPv6. Okay, the result is only IPv4. You can see it here. Okay, wow, that's good. So this is the reverse zone. After you have the conditional forwarder, this is when you have another domain, for example, and here's the cache lookup. Okay, so each time you go on the internet, okay, and you go on, for example, come here, you have all the website that all my user has access to. Okay, so this is the best way to see what the type of the website that my user is connected to. So here we have our that's not this one. So here we have our domain here. Okay, so you have this one here. All this one here, if you see here, this is only for to a computer to find a service. For example, this is the SRV record. Okay, so for example, I can see all my site here, I can see my domain, I can see the global catalog, the PDC. Okay, so if I go in my site here, I have the default website, I have Malta here, TCP with all the address, okay, of my DC. And that's very nice because that's the way a computer can find your DC when you are connected the first time. When you log in with user and password, he would retrieve and say, where is my DC? Okay, and here you can see that I have all DC by TCP here. So I have 2 DC here, the first one and the second one. And this one is used for LDAP, okay, to find your domain controller, and Kerberos is for authentication to have a token here. Okay, that's good. So what you can see also is that if I go here on my, let's close all this. If I go here on my domain, I can see if I go in properties that my data is stored in Active Directory. It's Active Directory integrated, meaning that each time there's a change here in my DNS, he will store all the information in Active Directory, but I can change it if I want. I can deselect that, okay? And the thing is that if I deselect that, the DNS will be a primary zone and the second DNS will be a secondary zone. So it will be done by zone transfer, okay? So it's very known, but the best solution is to store it in Active Directory so that each time you change a record, okay? So for example, if I go on my zone here, so this is my primary zone. If I go here and I add a new record, it will be automatically synced to the other DC. So if I go on my let's go here, connect to a DNS server, and if I tap AD2, okay, so here you can see that in AD2 I have exactly the same content, okay, the same content. So each time I add a new record here on my domain here, it will be automatically synced to the other one because the AD is replicated. So all the AD, meaning all what you have in Active Directory. So for example, when I go to my user and computer here, all what you have here will be replicated automatically. Okay, so each time I create a user here, or there is something, or new computers here, this database will be replicated automatically to the second DC. Okay, so let's continue our slide here. So DNS admin. First of all, you have admin group, okay? So you have domain admin and enterprise admin or DNS admin, okay? This is the admin group. And you have also DNS logging, okay? So DNS logging is that you have in application and service log folder, and for more verbose logging, you can enable debug logging, okay? And you have edging and scavenging. So DNS update record automatically, and sometimes the A record is not removed. For example, if a desktop is improperly disconnected. So state record are dynamic DNS record that has already passed the edging interval, and it's never a good idea to keep state record as they may mess up the name resolution. Wrong name resolution could lead to a bigger incident in the network, and that would be a nightmare for the administrator. And the no refresh interval is a period during which the client does not update the DNS record if there are no change. If the client retains the same IP address, the record is not updated 7 days. And the refresh interval is the time span after the no refresh interval when the client can refresh the record. So if the DNS record isn't refreshed during this time span, it becomes eligible for scavenging. Now this is important because in your DNS, you must really clean your record, okay? So you see here all the cycle here. This is a very nice picture. And also you must back up the DNS, okay? If you go in System32 DNS backup, you see that there is backup here. So you can back up a primary zone that is not stored in AD by copying or backing the individual zone name DNS who is here in DNS directory. So for example, if your DNS primary zone is named adatum.com, the DNS file will be named adatum.com DNS by default. And you can use partial DNS CMD, okay, to back up your DNS, or you can do export DNS server zone or DNS CMD zone export, okay. This is for the backup of the DNS. And of course, we have all our record, okay. So the record are created automatically by the DHCP, remember. So when the DHCP service starts, every 24 hours, when an IP is changed, when you type register DNS client on your client, or ipconfig register DNS, okay? So this is a way that the record are created automatically, okay, by the DHCP, remember. And here you have one of the most common DNS record, A record. This is for a computer, this is for IPv4, this is a CNAME. MX, we have NS, you have pointer record, you have start of authority record. SRV is to find, like Kerberos or LDAP, and text record. Text record is to verify, for example, that you are the owner of the domain. And here you have some example of some command. Here you have in PowerShell with the DNS record. Woo. So what is DNS zone? Remember, by default, you are in Active Directory integrated zone, okay? So meaning that all the change, when you do a change, you have written copy of the DNS zone. So if I change something on one of my AD, it will be replicated automatically. So when you create a primary zone, you have the option to create a zone file, okay, or store the zone in Active Directory. If you create a zone file, then the zone is a standard primary zone. If you store it in AD, it's integrated. So if you configure your zone to be AD integrated, then the zone data is stored in AD and replicated to all domain controller. Okay, so this is the best solution. But of course, you can do zone transfer, okay, with primary and secondary. Let me show you that. So if I go here on my first AD, I can see that so if I go in my Windows, so if I go here on Windows System32, okay, so if I go in System32 here, and if I go in my DNS here, you can see that, of course, my zone is integrated in AD. How can I see that? Let's go here and let's take our folder here. Let's just close this one. Let's close this one. And here I have my DNS manager, okay? You will see something very interesting is that if I go here and if I go in properties, if I say, okay, I don't want that my DNS zone is replicated with Active Directory integrated. This is quite stupid because it's very powerful, but maybe. So when you do that, what is happening, look what is happening, is that when you click on OK, a file will appear here, okay? You will see that. So if I do OK, it will mean no longer. So if I do yes, what is happening is that if I do apply, you see that I have now my DNS here, zone here. So it's not anymore in the AD. So if I open it now, if I go here and I do open with my pad, you will see that all the record is in a flat file, okay? When I say flat file, I mean that it's a flat file like a TXT file, and I just have to open with, and he will, I think that I'm gonna do that here, okay, because he doesn't want to open my file. Okay, so let's go back here, okay, so open with. And if I choose, for example, Notepad, you will see that you have all now your record that are here in a flat file. Okay, so that's mean that now you must find a solution to do a replication between the primary here with the AD. Okay, so now it's a primary zone. If I go here, you will see that now, if I do a properties, you will see that now it's the primary zone, meaning that if I want to now to do do a sync of this zone to the second DC, I must go on my 82 and I must do a replication. Okay, so meaning that I will have to go on my AD here and to create a second zone. Okay, and the second zone will be secondary zone. So remember that you can do that here, but you must go on the 80 here, and you will do manually. By manually, you have to do the synchronization. Okay, so if I go here on my 82, and if I go again on my DNS, and I go here on my DNS, so I go here tools DNS. Okay. And if I go here on 82, this is my forward loop zone, okay? This is my fluctuation IT.lab, okay? So if I want to create a new, okay, a new zone, I can do a new zone here and secondary zone, okay? So for example, if I go here and I remove this one, okay? So let's remove it. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now I must manually create a secondary zone. So I will go here, secondary zone, and I type fluctuation IT.lab. See? Never do that, okay? Because it's better to do it, you know, because if you say integrated in AD, he will do all the job for you. So I do here, and he will ask me for the primary master. So master is my first AD, okay? So my AD, if I do ping AD, it's this one. So let's take a copy of this IP address and put it here. Okay, and it's okay. See, I do next and finish. Now you will see that you have nothing here. Why? Because you must transfer from master. If you do okay here and you wait a little, you will see that in some time, okay, you will have your zone here automatically. Will be all the record will be displayed here. Okay, let's wait a minute. If it's not working, you must go on zone transfer, the first one. Okay, let's wait a minute. Okay, and that's it. I don't have anything here. If I don't have anything here, what is happening is that I must go back to my AD and manage my zone transfer. Okay, so okay, zone transfer. So I must do allow zone transfer. I can say to any server, okay, but it can be dangerous because if you add a new server, you can transfer all the zone, okay, or you can say only to the following server. For the meantime, let's say only to any server, but you must really add the second server here. So let's do apply, notify. I can notify the AD2, okay, that's it, and I do okay, and okay. If I go back now to my AD, if I go back to my AD2 now, it will work correctly. I just do that path and it's work, woohoo! But it's a manual, meaning that all this one is secondary. I cannot change anything, see? Background property is in gray. I cannot change anything here, see? Because it's a secondary, it's a read-only. So remember that, of course, this is a way, but it's not a good way, okay? So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go back here, change, I will do, okay, I will go back to my AD1, and I will come back to the first solution. So I mean that I'm going to integrate my zone here, properties, and I'm going to do, I can change it here if I want, and I can say I want to store it in AD. If I do that here, what is happening is that he will take the file here. Okay, so he will take the content of the file, and now I am in AD. Okay, so it's integrated in AD now. So okay, so my first zone is integrated in AD now, so that's better because now all the replication will be done automatically. So and all the DNS record will be integrated in your IDDS database, and this is really wonderful. So you can see it's integrated in AD. If I go back to my AD2 now, okay, so let's do like this. I can go here, I can go in properties, and you can see that replication. Okay, so I can change it if I want, of course. If I want, so I can go here, and I can say primary zone, okay, or I can say that it's integrated automatically. Okay, so that's really very nice. Okay, cool. And of course I can say, okay, it's integrated in AD. Wow, that's fantastic. So now all is integrated in AD, and the replication is done directly, okay, by the AD. So meaning that the KCC is doing the work and is doing the replication. Zone transfer is a big work, okay, because you must do primary and secondary. This is not really a good solution. The best thing is to integrate it directly in AD. So that's what we saw here. Okay, so the zone transfer is using the EXFR. This is the first time he's taking all the record and he's doing the transfer. And after, for the delta, meaning that when you change something between the full one, he will do a EXFR. Okay, so it will be just a delta here. Okay, so so zone transfer is between primary and secondary. Now, what is DNS forwarding? So when, for example, you don't have, so when a DNS server does not host a primary or secondary zone containing the resource, it needs a mechanism to find the record information. By default, each DNS server is configured with root ints that can be used to resolve DNS requests on the internet, okay? So you can use forwarder, conditional forwarder, or stop zone. So forwarder is very good. So for example, let's say I want to go on a website, like for example, CNN.com, okay? The thing is that my DNS server doesn't know CNN.com, okay, the news. So he will forward it to a DNS forwarder if you type a DNS forwarder. Otherwise, he will ask to the root server, okay? So let's go here. Let's go back here. And let's go to our AD1, okay? And you can see that here on your server here, if you go in properties, you have the forwarder, okay? So by default, he say that if he doesn't find anything, he will send everything to Google, okay? So if you don't put anything here, okay, you can see if there is no forwarder, you can do root ints. What is a root ints? It's all the server here that you have since how many, so many years, like will do the resolve, okay? So for my meantime, I put 80. I know it's not very corporate, but now if I go, for example, and I do CNN.com, what is happening is that when I will do enter, he will not find the solution, but he will go and forward it to Google, okay? And now I have my CNN.com, okay? And the CNN.com will be here. So if I go back here, you will see that in the cache lookup here, in the root. So if I go, where is it? No, sorry, it's here. Let's take it here, sorry. So if I go in cache lookup, root, if I go to .com, I will find CNN.com here. So if I go here and I look for CNN.com, it can take some time to put it here. Let's do a small refresh, okay? And of course, the IP address of CNN.com will be after some time. You will have it. You will find it here, okay? CNN.com, okay? So so what is happening is that when I try to go on my CNN.com here, what he will do first is that he will put in the cache here the IP address of the server of the CNN.com. Okay, so if I do get DNS client cache here, you can see that I will have the CNN.com. So here I have the IP address. So he will cache it for 133 seconds. Okay, if I do again that, you will see that now it's not more 130, but it's 121. Okay, and if I do the same thing, boom, it will change to 115. So meaning that after that, okay, if I go again on CNN.com, okay, on CNN.com, what is happening is that if he doesn't find anything here, okay, he will try to go on my DNS server, okay, but by default he will let this information here, okay. So each time I go, if I want to find a server, if he doesn't find it, remember that he will go on my, he will go here and he will forward everything here. Okay, you can put DNS or you can put your ISP, okay, so your internet provider here. This is very, very nice. Okay, so if I do a refresh here, I have it here, CNN, okay, that's good. So it's here, I have my static, okay, so if I go here, I can see my time to live here, so I can see in minutes, okay. So yeah, I could go here and I can see my time to live here, the IP address. So that's why the resolution is if he doesn't find it locally on your computer, he will go and ask it to my CNN here, okay? Okay, cool. So DNS forwarding, okay, you can do forwarder. Conditional forwarder and stub zone is used when you have another domain. For if you buy a company, for example, you can use stub zone or conditional forwarder, okay? So let's finish the last slide here about my eServer record. So eServer record is when you add a domain controller to a domain, the domain controller advertises its services by creating SRV record. So it's named as locator record in DNS. So unlike host A resource record, which map host name to IP address, SRV record maps services to host name. For example, to publish its ability to provide authentication and deliver access, a domain controller register Kerberos v5 protocol and LDAP SRV record. And SRV record are dynamically registered by the net login. Services running on a domain controller. If you need to force a domain controller to recreate its SRV record, you can restart the net login services or restart the domain controller. Ooh, that's good. Okay, let's finish with the DNS policy and DNSSEC. Okay, what is DNS policy? DNS policies, you can use DNS policy to manipulate how a DNS server manages query based on different factors. As an example, you might create a DNS policy to respond to query asking for the IP address of a web server to respond for a different IP address based on the closest data center to the cloud. Woo, I love it. So you will use PowerShell to create DNS policy. Okay, DNS policy is very nice. We'll not cover that in this training, but it's something that it's very, very powerful. And DNSSEC is to do encryption, of course, of all your DNS, because it can be a big problem if you have an attack, okay? So if malicious attacks can alter response from DNS server or send spoofed response to point client computer to their own server, they can get access to information. So if I do a phishing, I can change it if I want. So any server that relies on DNS for the initial connection, such as e-commerce web server and email server, is vulnerable. So domain DNSSEC can protect clients that are making DNS query from accepting false DNS response. Okay, so how does it work? I can go here on my AD if I want, and I can go here and do something quite crazy, is sign the zone here. So I can do next, 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 next. I can add a key here. I can do next, next. I can add this GSK, and I do next, 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 next. So of course you must understand everything. And if I go here, look what's happening now is all is encrypted. Ooh, that's crazy. So all my computer cannot access DNS anymore. I must push by policy the way to encrypt the DNS, okay? So that's good. So let's now unsign the zone because we'll not be able to do anything in our lab, okay? And that's it. So this is quite amazing how powerful it's to be able to sign the zone, okay? So this is the DNSSEC, okay? Okay, so I think that, you know, we saw quite a lot of things on DNS. We can pass a lot of time on it, but remember that the most important in the training is to understand what is doing your DNS server and what is a DNS client. Remember that also when you have your DHCP here, your DHCP will automatically send to all your workstation the DNS server. Okay, why? Because you need it. If I go, for example, on my second workstation here, so if I go here inside, when I do here, when I type, you know, my password, he will contact my DNS server. Okay, why? Because he must check that my password and my username is in Active Directory. Okay, so upload. Let's change my, oh, come on. Let's change my keyboard here. Okay, and that's good. And so, for example, if I go here in my workstation, and for example, if I type the name of a server, like for example, AD2, he will find it. Why? Because he's doing a DNS request. So he will try to say, okay, please, I want to access to AD2. So he will all the time try to use his local cache, okay? So you remember that to display the local cache here, you go on your PowerShell here, and you can do a get DNS client cache. If you do that, you will have maybe here the name and the IP address of your server AD2, okay? So here you have your old information about, you know, AD, and he will try to use the DNS cache here. So I have my cache here. So meaning that after that, if he doesn't find anything here, so if I don't have any entry here, he will go on your DNS server to say, hey guy, can you give me the IP address of AD2? And after he will put it on your cache for 173 seconds. Okay, so, and it's very important to understand is that when you take a computer and you put it on a domain, so when you go here, and you know, when you take a workstation and you put it on the domain, he's on the domain, what is happening is that automatically he will ask, where is my DNS server? And he will put this workstation on my domain here, okay? And he will create automatically the IP address. DHCP will give an IP address, the IP address will be saved in DNS, and he will create all the object in Active Directory. That's all, folks, for the meantime. Thank you so much, and have a very nice day. Ciao, ciao.